This is Radio TV Phono Nut, and here are a couple of Japanese tube radios that were featured in recent videos. On the left, we have the rototurbulating True Test kit radio from the early 60s, and on the right, we have a Tempest, little gray-cased plastic radio from probably about 65. And both of them have dragging voice coils on the speakers, which is a common problem. Well, we got this little package in today from an eBay seller that should contain a couple of speakers that'll get these things sounding better. So let's see what we got. Well, Norvac Electronics is the vendor, and these are a couple of 3-inch Speco speakers from China, of course. What isn't from China today? And they look pretty much just like what's in there. So let's take the radios down and open them up and do a little speaker transplant, and these things ought to sound a lot better. New speaker on the left, old raspy dragging speaker on the right, and yes, they look very similar to each other. Well, this sounds like total crap. That sounds worse than the speaker that was in it. And yeah, the Christmas music you heard, bring you up to speed on that. Yes, this video was taped after Christmas, 9:10 a.m. That was a news talk station that simulcast on 102.1 FM. I've noticed here lately has been playing Christmas music. And I looked them up on Wikipedia, and they're telling me now that the FM is owned by one person and the AM is owned by somebody else. I think formerly they were owned by the same people. Now, a couple of years ago, a station at 1450 that's owned by the people who now own 910 pulled the same Christmas music stunt. They started playing Christmas music after Thanksgiving and played it well into February, at which time they flipped from a black gospel format to a sports format. And before they were a black gospel format, you guessed it, they were a sports format. So I don't know what made them think it would work any better this time. The only thing different is they got an FM translator the second go around. So I noticed 910 is doing the Christmas music stunt, so it'll be interesting to see what format they flip to. I heard that they're getting an FM translator at 95.9, I believe, or 7 or something, I don't remember, but I guess we'll find out when we get it. It'll be interesting to see what format they flip to. They'll probably flip to black gospel or something, or 24 hours of paid infomercials for men's ED pills. You know, they're not going to put an oldies station on the air, something that some people around here might actually want to hear. They're going to put something else on the air, I'm sure, because the consultant probably told them that the oldies format didn't test well for this area. They'd rather hear either black gospel or paid programming for men's ED pills. So, alright, let's get this back open and see if the speaker's bad, or is it something wrong with the radio. You know, you can always count on something going haywire if you just assume it's going to work and put it back together. That's when it's going to go haywire on you. Well, when I pulled it out of the cabinet, it sounds a lot better. Let me flip this to some non-copyrighted stuff.
In a way, you could say he gave him more than enough chance. Everyone thought he fired him late. Yeah, but in a weird way, every year you kept him, it makes this job more consequential. It's like, if you fire a guy after 1 year, it doesn't mean all that much. And to me, I think this decision was made probably last week. And I think he's dragging it out because it makes him look like the good guy. It's straight out of Vegas. Weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio. And if they had, then it should have been something that we would have been either trying to counter.
Here's a talk show that's on the
sure that it didn't happen.
Local talk show that's on the R&B, Southern Soul, whatever it is, horrible sounding station. I think this is on Monday through Thursday from 4 to 6 now, so I imagine they'll start leaning towards a talk format.
Beneficial. And they had this conversation saying about...
Which is just as well, because I just can't stand to listen to them, mainly because the fidelity's so poor.
One of the all-timers.
I don't know what the deal was with the distorted audio. It's playing fine now, and I did retension this tube socket.
Of the league. The offense lost the starting center, obviously to injury. They had to jettison the two most athletically talented wide receivers due to off-the-field nuisance. Age at quarterback, age at wide receiver. And their coaching staff gets gutted year after year, right? Look at the other sideline. Look at the Houston sideline. All of these things. It's death by 1,000 cuts. I've told the story before that when I was over at the other place, I'll never forget, we had a town hall meeting. And a
socket contacts are just old and tarnished and dirty.
And they flew in.
And no matter how well you clean them or retension them, they're probably still going to make static when you move the tubes around. So the solution to that problem is don't move the tubes around. So when I mount the speaker back in the cabinet, it sounds like crap again, so it's something to do with the physical mounting. I know the holes on the replacement speaker don't seem to be exactly like the holes on the original, and I sort of had to force it over the studs, so maybe something's getting bent and causing the cone to not move freely like it should, so we'll have to look into that. May have to enlarge those holes a little bit. Isn't this fun? You never know what you're going to run into when you're working on one of these things. You can see there the holes on the new speaker are just a tad bit off from where the ones are on the old speaker. And since I was having to force them over the mounting studs, it's probably bending the frame enough to cause the speaker cone not to move like it should. Alright, I enlarged one of the holes, but when I tighten down this particular nut, it sounds raspy.
Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as
when I loosen that nut, it frees up and sounds fine. So something, when I tighten the nut down, is definitely interfering with the vibration of the speaker cone. Alright. I enlarged all 4 holes and played around with it and got it in there to where it will play without sounding like crap now.
News Talk Station, AM 1010, WMOX. Recommend everyone goes through. Way to go. Good News Gospel Radio, 1390 AM and 93.1 FM. WMER is back with more of your gospel favorites next.
Okay, let's put it back together and see if it plays right. Who'd ever thought we'd go to have this much trouble over changing a little dinky speaker out? Alright, we have it back together, and it seems to be happy now. Now, this plastic cabinet is vibrating and resonating at high volume levels, but there's not a lot I can do about that. It probably did that from the day it was new. Remember, we're talking about a radio that cost probably no more than $10 whenever it was new, when the rest of them cost anywhere between $18.95 to $25.95 and up.
And health insurance is not picking up the majority of the
Yeah, you can really hear the vibrate resonating now, but heck, I don't care. It's not like I'm going to be listening to this every day. It is what it is. Now let's move on to the other one and see if we can get it straightened out with less difficulty than we had with this. Alright, I got the new speaker installed, and the cone seems to be moving free with the little finger push test.
Former Saints, or I should say Saints linebackers coach Mike Nolan as the defensive coordinator. Cause Santa Claus is watching you.
Now they're good, but I mean now my
Alright, this station has poor fidelity. That's 1010.
To Georgia with my family, and I'm just like in a stress situation.
You hear the raspiness that sounds like it's in rhythm to the modulation.
I had some accidents. I had to go to a chiropractor, and I also had a surgery in 2015, so I have to go.
I'm no broadcast engineer, so I don't know what that is, but somebody needs to go down through the audio chain and see what that is.
21.
21, okay.
Sad thing is, most people listening to AM today probably wouldn't notice or wouldn't even care. That's 1290, the other station that sounds pretty bad. And it's got distortion. That's 1390, that's way, way, way louder than the other stations, so it's to the point where it's distorting.
Play, I would have walked Patriots. You could change a play, and
there's 1450. It sounds okay. That's the one that used to be black gospel and has now turned into sports.
Cause Santa Claus is watching you.
It's everywhere! It's everywhere!
910's probably the best sounding, and they'll probably convert it to some crap format that nobody wants to listen to.
We know you won't get on a plane, but
that over the scope of your life, that's just the initial bump.
said I keep killing hundreds of people. They were both this. Minnesota dances.
Yeah, I guess that's WSM.
30 years that what you're saying appears to be true to me.
Yeah, what's really bad about all these poor performing AM stations is we got all these nicer old tube radios out there, but no matter how nice the radio is, it's not going to perform its best if you got garbage going into it. Alright, here's the speaker out of this radio. It's a Foster, which is a common brand of speaker, and it's a better, heavier, better quality speaker than the one that came out of the little gray radio, but this one's still got a dragging voice coil. And this is a better radio all around than the little gray thing, but
Because people overpay for it.
it's still not as good as like a Zenith or an RCA. But once again, it was probably never meant to be. It was a kit radio, and I'm sure whatever kid built it had lots of enjoyment listening to the local AM Top 40 station.
And where you went to school is freaking useless. Don't tell me that stuff.
Alright, there you go. They're fixed, ready to go back up on the shelf.